Imagine this situation. You are a new player in DBD leveling up your favorite survivor with the blood points you got. Suddenly, a purple offering appears in your blood web, called Vigo's Jar of Salty Lips, which gives you extra luck. You select that offering, very happy, and you decide to loot all of the chests in the match, hoping for a purple flashlight or a medkit. Well, what if I told you that the luck status effect in DBD only affects the odds of escaping from a hook? You heard me right. The luck status effect does not increase the quality of the items you find in the chests, and if you ever felt like it did, it was either placebo or it was Plunder's Instinct, the only perk that affects item quality in chests. So that makes Up the Ante, a perk from Ace, one of the most useless perks in the entire game, as the only benefit it gives you is trying to unhook yourself, which is why most players combo it with Slippery Meat and a 4-stack with Vigo's Salty Lips. The luck status effect needs a complete rework to its properties to make it worth to use, so an obvious change is to make it affect the quality of items in the chest, as it's just logical. Why this was not programmed from the start is really weird. Maybe you can give the excuse of the blood point economy and how it would make it easy to get ultra rare items, but considering that the only ultra rares are maps and keys, not medkits, toolboxes and flashlights, make this not really that big of an issue in the grand scale of things. Other effects that luck could give is maybe having the hatch spawn closer to the luckiest survivor as a special effect. Make luck be a worthy benefit, and not something that is basically completely useless since the start of the game. But if we're talking about useless things, then the broken key item takes the cake. So everyone probably already heard or knows about this item, as it's the only one in the game that is completely useless by itself, and its only purpose is to be combined with add-ons. This key was designed like this by the devs from the start as a worse version of the skeleton key, a very powerful item. So for that reason the rarity of this is green. The problem is that if you get a key in-game, unless you have Ace in the hole, this item will be completely useless. Having an item that is green rarity be completely useless is not a good thing, especially when a survivor takes its time to open one of the chests instead of using their time in repairing a generator. It's a very bad feeling. Now the issue is that if we make the broken key a common or uncommon, that would logically make it more common to find in matches, which in turn makes searching chests even worse. So what is the solution to this? In my opinion, keys are poorly designed and they are just remnants of the past, when DBD was more of a scary, atmospheric game. I believe that the developers back then wanted an item that was extremely powerful, as it could almost guarantee you escaping, and you had to search in chests and get extremely lucky. Getting a key that is broken fits with the lore and aesthetic of the game, and the hopelessness of the survivors in that moment. But nowadays, with the game being so far away from its roots with the different characters and skins they have added, I think having an item that is bad on purpose is not a good idea, and it punishes survivors searching for chests, when the game should reward survivors opting to do secondary objectives rather than generators. And since we're on the topic of useless items, let's talk about maps. Conceptually, I think they are way better than keys, and their use is to reveal the auras of tracked interactables in the match so you can see them across the walls. The problem is that flashlights, toolboxes and medkits are significantly better items than maps, and also maps can be easily replaced with common sense and perks, as the most important items you can see with it are totems and generators. When was the last time you have seen a survivor using a map without trying to complete a Rift challenge? And the sad part is that the map has one of the most unique and interesting add-ons ever, and that is the glass bead, which allows the map user to create a beam of light as a ping that other survivors can see. Maps are outdated, and they need to be reworked in order to fit the new era of Dead by Daylight. If you don't believe me, then how about the fact that some maps allow you to track the killer's belongings like bear traps, hack traps or Demogorgon portals? The devs have explicitly said that they don't want perks and items that specifically counter certain killers, and with the recent change to Lightburn being removed from the game, it's clear that maps have been completely forgotten, or else they would have followed their own rules and nerfed it on the same patch. I think a cool way to increase the effectiveness of maps is to allow all survivors to see the auras by default, and to let the map user be able to ping interactables in order to highlight specific items for them. Another idea, but this is massively wild, is to let maps also track palettes and windows and have it as an item version of windows of opportunity that you have to unlock by first scouting the entire map. I know a lot of killer mains are ready to comment that they are glad I don't work at behavior, but I am just throwing ideas to the wall and seeing what sticks. Remember that maps have to compete with medkits, toolboxes and flashlights, so it needs a cracked effect to make it worthwhile to use. Another problem that both maps and broken keys have is that they clutter the blood webs of survivors, since they are very bad items that most players will want to avoid spending their blood points on. And let's talk about this issue, because I feel this is one of the biggest problems for me personally in this game that has not been solved to this day. Using the blood web with survivors does not feel good, unlike killers. Whenever I am leveling up a killer like Skull Merchant, I am happy to get very cracked add-ons like Geographical Readout or even some of the brown ones, because I know they will give a special effect to my power. With survivors, however, most of the items and add-ons are completely useless. You only need party streamers or cakes, map offerings, add-ons that increase the charges of toolboxes, medkits or flashlights, and items themselves. Basically, all of the add-ons are completely useless, which makes me not excited to level survivors up. And to add salt to the wound, the devs decided that it's an amazing idea to add 24 different types of blood point offerings, 12 for each side and 3 for each category. Extra blood point offerings like reds or flowers are completely useless. These offerings will give you a measly 5k, 7.5k or 10,000 extra blood points if you get the specific category to the max. The problem is that, for example with the brown ones which give you 5k, you also have to take into account the amount you spend on them. So in reality, the benefit in a perfect case scenario is 3,000, 5,000 and 6,000 extra blood points. Why would anyone use these instead of using the salty pudding, escape cake or party streamers? These offerings are pure clutter. They have always been useless and it's crazy how they haven't been changed yet. We really don't need them anymore now that blood points are so easy to earn, and their only purpose is to fill the empty spaces on your blood web like charms do in the Rift Pass. And since we're on the topic of offerings, how about we talk about secret offerings? A very cool and interesting concept that seems to be completely abandoned by the devs. Secret offerings do not reveal themselves during a match, so you are unsure on what the survivors or killers are playing. But the issue is that the only offerings that are secret are Memento Moris and the Shrouds. And no killer is ever going to use a Shroud because they are actually detrimental to the killer, as you don't want the survivors to spawn far away from each other. So if you see a secret offering, the only thing you don't know if it's a Ebony, Ivory or Cypress Mori. For survivors, the only secret offerings are again the Shrouds, which are completely useless. One of them makes you spawn far from the killer, which is pointless, and another one to spawn you next to someone, which is also pointless and potentially detrimental. So as it stands now, secret offerings are really not secret, and it's weird how the devs created this mechanic only to leave it completely unaltered for literally 6 years, as they haven't added a single secret new offering yet, almost like they completely forgot that this is in the game. Obviously what this system needs is more secret offerings, and honestly making new cool offerings that completely change the mechanics of the maps could have been really cool. Imagine an offering that spawns pumpkins like in the Halloween event, or an offering that spawns snowmen so you can use them outside of Christmas events. How about making the blueprints secret offerings, so the killers or survivors are unsure on where the hatch spawns, because in the current state, if you put a hatch offering as a survivor, the killers can see it and they can just camp the hatch at the end game. And before we end the offerings topic, I just wanted to quickly mention the fog offerings. I believe they are also outdated and they are remnants of a past DBD that was atmospheric and creepy, but right now, with how open and bright all maps are, fog offerings are pretty useless, unlike back in the days. In a perfect world, the fog offerings would have been volumetric, so you can use them to hide as a survivor and have the red light from killers penetrate it so you can see better. This is never going to happen because volumetric fog takes a lot of machine power to work, and we have DBD on the Switch. And I mean, the game is already barely running on the PS4. Let's talk about the prestige system, and I know a lot of people, especially survivor mains, will agree with me. The way the prestige system is implemented in the game is possibly one of the worst procedures in a live service game, as it actually hinders the experience of the players. And by the way, just in case, I am referring to the prestige grades we have in the lobby, the ones everyone can see. I am not talking about the fact that reaching prestige 3 will grant teachable perks to every single character you have, which is a fantastic change that I praised when they announced it, and I will praise it again. My issue is that the prestige system of this game feels very weird. Despite the extreme amount of grind you need to do to become a prestige 100, this grind is not rewarded at all. There is no special border or avatar, or most importantly cosmetic, that showcases you reach this rank. And the problem is worse on killers, because the only thing you can boast about it, the prestige grade itself, is only visible on the match end screen. So the only reason to prestige a killer is to post it on Twitter, or if you are a content creator, just like the legacy prestige from patch 6.1.0. Now for survivors however, the prestige is a different beast, because killers can see your level beforehand, and most killers will assume that you are automatically a menace. So they will either tunnel you or make your life miserable by equipping extremely tryhardy builds. The issue is that, at least in my experience, a prestige 100 can be very good, or they can be potatoes. After all, prestige just means how many blood points they invested on a specific character, and not the actual skill level of the player. In fact, you can even cheat the system, which is something that I really dislike. You can literally play a killer you really enjoy and spend the blood points on any other character you want. So you could be a really high prestige survivor but only play killer. The prestige system should have been completely revamped and instead offer recolors of the default cosmetics that you can only earn by leveling up your characters by either playing or doing special challenges. So for example, playing Dwight will level up Dwight, and playing Huntress will level up Huntress. This prestige system would be separated from the Blood Web, and instead the Blood Web is reserved to get teachable perks for everyone, so you are not forced to play Hattie if you want her teachables on Meg. But now here is the catch: the prestige grade you are should be hidden to the killers during the lobby, and instead only revealed at the end of the match, or straight up add a settings option to keep the prestige level hidden in case you so desire. This way, you have two solutions. The first is to create a grind system in the game to promote playing specific characters that maybe you would have never given the chance to, and also, a second solution is that it prevents the constant harassment that Prestige 100 players get. But at the very least, the Prestige system was revamped not that long ago. It's not like another XP system that the game has had for almost over 5 years that serves no practical purpose as it's currently implemented, and that would be perfect for a set of rewards. I am talking about the devotion levels, which is the number you have next to your username and rank. This is the amount of times you reach level 100 with your XP, and then it resets back to 1 and you get a devotion level. That's it. Currently, its only use is so you know how much a content creator has played a game, so the more devotion level you have, the more your opinion weights on a debate talking about game balance, or that's how it's supposed to work. Any of the changes previously mentioned could be applied to a devotion level, and maybe even straight up allow players to unlock characters or recolors by reaching a certain devotion level. And for those of you that might think this is too much and it would make behavior lose money, I think that if a player reach a high devotion level like 5 or 10, that means that they are more than 500 levels. That is a lot of hours played, which means more engagement with the game, which means the game is not dead, which means the game gets revenue because of a healthy player base. Rewarding players for playing a game is one of the easiest psychological tricks games can do to create engagement. Now let's segue to another completely different topic. Something that I noticed from the DBD community is that a lot of things, for some reason, are just accepted and nobody seems to ask for the devs to update it. One of the features in question I am referring to is the settings menu. The fact that it's been 6 years and the settings menu is still the same Unreal Engine scary indie game limited option is absolutely crazy, considering the fact that many PC players straight up tweak the files manually in order to uncap their FPS or to configure the settings as they wish, like by removing anti-aliasing. These features already exist in a file. If they can be done manually, I am sure the devs can just implement them officially in the game. No, seriously, how are there not people demanding a proper settings menu in DBD? How is it accepted that we have to manually change the settings ourselves? I understand if the game is an indie, which it was back in 2017, but there is zero excuse to have such a pathetic settings menu on PC and console, especially when DBD Mobile has a fantastic settings menu full of customization options and accessibility. For those of you that will defend behavior by saying that players will just start using optimal graphics settings to remove shadows, increase the brightness, or remove grass, well, that's already a thing that can be done manually, and also a thing that can be changed with shaders, so why not make it part of the game? The more accessibility DBD has, the more players can enjoy it and have a good time. There is just no argument that is valid to defend the limited options that are in-game. The second thing that I will never understand how people even defend is the Shrine of Secrets. There are so many new perks in the game and more coming with each patch. The fact that the Shrine of Secrets is still the same outdated trash system that came out in 2016 is mind-boggling. I have already explained on my monetization video why this system is really bad, so let's jump to a more interesting aspect of the game that I believe is outdated, and possibly the most controversial one in this video. A lot of features that are in-game some people might not like, but they were intentionally made by the devs, and they serve a purpose. The game being so dark by default is intentional, as the devs want to make the game dark and moody since it's a horror game. The FOV of killers being so small is also intentional, as to give an opportunity for survivors to hide. The chase music exists only to make it harder for the killer to track survivors while chasing them. And the black bubble that appears after the killer hooks a survivor that impairs your vision, well, that's also fully intended by the devs. But something that I don't think should be in the game anymore is the mechanic that breaks hooks indefinitely after sacrificing a survivor on it. It seems to be a mechanic that punishes the killers from doing their job successfully, and what I have noticed, especially by myself as a killer player, is that due to the hooks being permanent, sometimes I straight up just slug the survivors on the ground if I want the 4K, but I cannot reach any hooks. The hook spawning in DBD is procedural, so it can have some issues in certain maps, like Midwich, and in those maps, this mechanic can feel very frustrating, as you have no option to counter this and instead, you have to prevent it. But do you think a mechanic like this should exist in the game? And if so, what purpose does it serve? Let me know in the comments if you have any other suggestions for features that you believe are outdated or deserve to be replaced. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.